Hi, I'm Steve Kerr. I'm provost at Chancellor University. I've taught before at Ohio State University, University of Michigan, and University of Southern California. But the things I'm going to talk to you about for a few minutes now come more out of my work as the head of leadership development for both General Electric and Goldman Sachs. And the point is that these are techniques that have been found to be useful. They work in a variety of organizational cultures and hopefully will be of some use to you. I want to chat a little bit about communications, some of the reasons that people misunderstand each other, misperceive why errors occurred, and of course what can be done about that. Let me start with a very simple example. If you were to look at the board behind me, imagine this. Imagine what color you would say this is. You probably would agree it's white. Let's say that I have a different palette in my head, and when I look at this board, I see yellow. Now, from the time I learned to talk, what do my parents teach me to call this? Answer, white. Because they don't know what's in my head. All they know is that is called white. So what happens is we go through life imagining we're describing the same reality, but all I know is when you look at this color, make the noise white. Who knows what you're seeing? You see the way people paint their houses. You see the way people dress. It's got to occur to you that they probably don't see colors the way you do, or they wouldn't do that stuff. But that's the point. We agree on the symbol of something. So, for example, we say, did you get the email? Did you get the memo? Yeah, I got the memo. Make the sound memo. It's the same as making the sound white. It doesn't mean we've shared information. It doesn't mean we've communicated. It means you got the thing that has that same noise that we say that I said, I sent this thing called memo, you got this thing called memo. So it's a fundamental problem because if you know you didn't communicate, then you go ahead and do it. But when you think you have, you don't think any further communication is needed. What then happens is the person you're communicating to, particularly if you're a leader and you've asked people to do something, given them an assignment, made a request, they do something quite different. I know I communicated clearly because everyone thinks they have. I tested it. They said they got the instruction. Now look what they've done. So they're trying to make me look bad. They don't care about this company. They're lazy and demotivated. We come up with all these theories, none of which, of course, have anything to do with us. We're blaming the person for failing to do what we thought we told them to do. Now, the most common way people try to deal with this, in addition to saying, did you get the email? Did everybody get it? They say, any questions? At the end of the talk, any questions? But the trouble with what's called inference, the trouble with this way we communicate is that you don't know you have questions. In the same way I thought I communicated it perfectly, you thought you understood what I said. So in your mind, like when I say that's white, I don't even think about whether we're seeing different colors. I have no question. I agree. You agree. We all agree this board is white. So things like, did you get the note? Do you have any questions? These are dangerous ways of trying to get confirmation. And now that it's in your mind, check it the next time you go to a talk. And then, any questions? Now, sometimes people know they have, but the point is often that's not a safe way to proceed. So what do you do instead? First, people don't process information objectively. I've just said that. It goes through your own filter. That can't be helped. That's humans. But it isn't random. It's well known that people often hear and see what they want to. People often see and hear what they expect to. And finally, sometimes people see and hear what they're afraid. So hopes, fears, and expectations. So there's no substitute for knowing your people. Obviously, if you're talking to 7,000 people in a corporation and you're their leader, you're not going to have intimate knowledge. But most communication is with a family member, with a teacher, with a student, with a team at work. And there's no substitute for knowing your people well enough to know what are their hopes, what are their fears. And sometimes it's funny. A person comes in late. The boss says, good morning. The guy says to you, oh, man, we're in trouble. What happened? He just said good morning. Are you kidding? You see the way he looked at me? Do you hear the tone in his voice? Maybe, or maybe it was solely in the fears of the person getting the information. So he'll go home and describe the boss as being threatening and maybe insulting. And it's not true, but it doesn't matter because if people perceive it, that's how they'll act. So that's one thing to do. Always keep in mind what people, as best you can, are expecting to hear, will hear, and you try to deal with it, and that will frame the way you communicate. Another very important thing to do at the end of a talk, at the end of a meeting, at the end of a symposium, instead of any questions, which we said is pretty limited, you ask, what did I just say? Please write down, take a minute. In fact, we had a requirement in GE, the Leadership Development Center called Crotonville. We wouldn't let people leave. Before you left, you always had to answer 2 questions, and one of the 2 questions always was, what did we agree on? What did we just say here in this meeting? And if you have, again, it could even be in a family situation. You're talking to kids about tasks or anything. Try it one time, and you'll see you'll become addicted to it because it's amazing. You do this at a meeting at work, and say, what do we agree on? Well, we're going to talk about purchasing, about creating this new spec. And then the second goes, Charlie, we didn't say that. We said we're going to check with legal to see if it would be legal to change the purchasing spec. And when you do this for a while, it only adds a few minutes to the meeting, and it saves a lot of time that you would otherwise spend fixing all the messes that relate. Not because people are nasty, though you may conclude, I made it clear and they went out and they didn't obey me, but rather everybody is hearing their personalized view, and that's why this stuff happens. So always check it. What did we say? And you'll find how often this can resolve these kinds of miscommunications. And the final thing I'd mention is the words we use, if you show that you understand it, that however well you try to communicate, there were gaps. It's possible you got it wrong. If you show openness to that possibility, people will feel much freer to come in and say, I don't understand, rather than pretending you do because you think it's somehow you're expected to know and all this stuff goes on in your head. So you'll learn to use words that encourage. So instead of saying, I told you, you say, I meant to say this. And instead of, I heard you, not you said, I heard you say, I thought you said, I meant to say. So it's not only in the signals, it's not only in the message itself, it's the attitude that lets people know communication is a risky business. It's fraught with errors and misunderstandings. It's not necessarily the fault of the recipient. It's not anybody's fault. It's that we're people, and it's tricky to communicate precisely. And these kind of things can help it go easier. Now, hopefully this is of use. If you're interested in topics like this, you might want to see. We have a number of these at Chancellor, and you're welcome to visit the website at chancellorU.edu, and you'll see more like this one. Thank you.